Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to our BlueActionBANOS webinar today. I will wait 1 or 2 more minutes for people to come in. Hello again, I would like to welcome all the applicants for the open calls in the BlueActionBANOS program. Also, welcome to those watching the recording rather than the live session, and perhaps applicants of other sister programs to BlueActionBANOS, such as BlueAction AA, could also be watching this and could also learn from what we will be sharing here today. If you are joining as an applicant of another program, please do bear in mind that this is tuned specifically to BlueActionBANOS and there might be differences with the application procedure in your own program. I'd like to first put down a few ground rules, as we always do in our BlueActionBANOS webinar. So first, this webinar will be recorded and it will be available on our website within a few days after this live event. So you will be able to rewatch it or to share it with other applicants. Also, we have disabled your microphone and your camera, but if you do have questions, you can ask those through the Q&A feature. So we are using Teams webinar, and on the top ribbon, you should see a Q&A option, and there you can ask questions, upvote other people's questions. We're able to reply to those questions as well, or we can take the questions live at the end of this session. And then I'll introduce myself. My name is Jonas Leskerwaard. I'm a science officer at the Flanders Marine Institute, based in Flanders in Belgium. And we are a partner within the BlueActionBANOS consortium. And I'll first quickly introduce our program once more. You have or most of you will have applied to one of the open calls, so I don't have to go into much details. You should be fairly familiar now with BlueActionBANOS. And then we will go to the speaker that we have here today, who will share a lot about the procedure for integrating monitoring within your full project proposal. So BlueActionBANOS is a program situated within the Mission Ocean program of the European Commission. So this is a large-scale effort to strive for healthy seas with 3 main goals, which is to protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity, to go towards a sustainable blue economy, and also to prevent and eliminate pollution in our aquatic environments. BlueActionBANOS then focuses on the BANOS region, the Baltic and North Sea basin, and the vision within our program is to provide targeted financial assistance through our open calls, but also technical guidance for the projects that will be funded, and to facilitate knowledge sharing, both to provide the latest knowledge to the projects for implementation, but also to take the lessons learned from those projects and to disseminate those further. And all of this is to scale up the deployment of Mission Ocean and to encourage the use of successful projects and solutions by other actors in the Baltic and North Sea basin. So we do this through 2 open calls, the community-led actions and the transition agendas. Yes, thank you. And we also provide this technical assistance. And then if we look at the current timeline where we are at the moment, you'll see that we are in the phase of individual consultations. So that means that the project ID forms have been submitted. The deadline has passed last week. This was the 16th of March. And we are now fully in the process of scheduling and conducting individual conversations with each of the applicant projects. And the next big deadline to keep in mind is the deadline for the full proposal submission, which is on the 29th of May at 5 o'clock Brussels time. And then just to say that this webinar today is part of a series of multiple webinars which we've called From PIF to Full Proposal, so from project ID form to the development of your full proposal. And with these webinars, we aim to support you during the development of your full proposal. Today's topic is on KPIs and impact assessment. We have another webinar planned on the 15th of April, which will be a matchmaking session. So we will give the floor to different consortia who are still looking for one or more partners to include in their consortium. And we will also allow individual entities to present themselves so that maybe they can join an existing consortium. And then we will facilitate matchmaking between consortia and other organizations that might still want to join a consortium. And then we have a third and potentially fourth webinar planned in May. The topic is still to be decided. We are at the moment sorting through the information that you have provided to us in the project ID forms, where one of the questions was, what sort of technical assistance do you need from us? And one of the things that we picked up on from this is that more explanations on the KPI definitions and impact assessment would be welcome. So that's why we have today's topic. But we are still looking at the other requested subjects. So those will be gathered into a third and potentially fourth webinar series webinar. So keep an eye out for that. And then going to the next slide, I would like to introduce today's topic and today's speaker. So we have Christina Nuotimeki. Sorry, I cannot pronounce your surname.
That's right.
That's right, excellent. With us today, she is from our Finnish partner in the BlueActionBANOS project, which is the Geological Survey of Finland. And Christina is a geologist. She is working on BlueActionBANOS, a project that preceded BlueActionBANOS, and now on BlueActionBANOS, where she and her colleagues are responsible for designing the monitoring aspect of our project and also to help applicants with defining their monitoring approach, with composing these key performance indicators, and also for designing their impact assessments. So that's what she will talk about today, and then I will leave it to Christina here.
Thank you, Jonas. So good afternoon and welcome to the first of the webinar series on my behalf as well. So today's content is indeed key performance indicators and impact assessment for your project. So let's look at these topics today in more detail. So in this webinar, we will take a closer look at how to monitor the impact of your project. So we start from your project's objectives and the measurable outputs listed in your PIF. and you will learn how to define the key performance indicators that effectively track your project's impact. So all in all, by linking these to a clear and coherent narrative, you can demonstrate why they are credible and operate for your project's objectives. So they can be different than in other projects, but something that describe what you do specifically in your project. We use pathway to impact approach for tracking projects' internal impact. Sometimes this is also called research impact pathway. It is the same method. And then we want to introduce the PESTLE framework for exploring the wider context of your community project. So we will take time to examine your assumption about external factors related to political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors that can help you adapt your project's implementation accordingly. And this presentation summarizes the KPI framework developed for monitoring the community-led actions and transition agendas, both alike. So why key performance indicators and impact monitoring are important? By impact monitoring, we refer here to the project or program or mission scale results and impact monitoring, not any specific instrumentation of a single site or measuring any certain parameter, but rather on the tangible results and outcomes of your project. We have defined some KPIs that measure performance, such as budget and used hours, and then progress that measure results achieved in time and in expected scale, as you will describe in your full proposal. But we are especially interested in the impact in this project, and it means that we want to measure the concrete, tangible results that you will reach during your project, and also those that you reach beyond the project time that might be out of your hands, but that you can affect by the outcomes of your project. The KPIs must be aligned with Mission Ocean goals through the use of objective, targets, and indicators. These are really specific terms that the Mission Ocean uses, so it's important to use them in correct context. And then indicators are defined for each project application by the project team. So this is something that you have to consider within your teams in the application phase already. So where can you find more information about these indicators then? There exists a WISE Marine Water Information System for Europe, and it has a great internet page that offers a lot of more information about the indicators themselves. So all of the projects funded in this BlueActionBANOS project must align the indicators with WISE Marine objectives. This ensures that the project results support the mission Ocean, and we are all pulling to the same direction and not working against each other. And you can find the WISE Marine portal through the link provided here. And it has a specific Mission Ocean section where you can find more information, and we can quickly take a look at it here, and if we have time, also in the end of the presentation. So from the webpage, you can find a larger set of indicators that are readily defined, and you can find more information by clicking each of them. Here, for example, we have clicked the Sustainable Blue Economy section and carbon emissions from maritime transport. So there's a short description what is meant by this indicator. You can find information what projects are currently contributing to that indicator, and by clicking the project name here, you can open the project web pages and find even more detailed information. For example, the locations where they operate, which objective of the Mission Ocean they are contributing to, and more activities, what they do in the project, and so on. So this is for your inspiration, and you can check what other projects have done before you to maybe build on their results, or maybe adapt, for example, their results on your own region, or something else, maybe contribute to their events or invite them to your events. So there's lots of ideas that can be tapped into in this page. The mission objectives, as Jonas mentioned already, are the ecosystem restoration, pollution reduction, and carbon neutral blue economy. So in this project, in BUB, both the CLAs and TAs can address any of these objectives, or you can also address several of these objectives. The objectives have equal weight in the proposal, and we don't consider one of the objectives any more important than some other. And in the Wise Marine page, you can find this donut graph where the objectives are described in the inner circle, and targets are the one that detail these objectives a little bit more, and you can find them in the central circle. And indicators are found then on the outer circle of the graph. And you can click any of these indicators to find more information about them. But if you pay close attention, this list is not comprehensive, as it mostly references to sea or marine environments, and freshwater environments are, however, considered equally important in the mission ocean. So this is why we allow selection of indicators matching the one listed here. So if you see that some of these are perfectly suitable for your project content, you can select one of these, but you can also develop these further so that you can deviate from these indicators and fit them into your own purpose. One example could be here that, for example, in pollution sector, there's only mentioned nitrate in rivers, but of course you can also design actions that target nitrate in seas or nitrate in lakes, for example. And of the pollutants in such, there's only mentioned litter or plastic litter, microplastics, and then chemical pesticides. But if you would like to include some, say, HELCOM top 10 list pollutants, they would be welcomed just as well. But you just have to find basis why they are important and why you want to address those. But how do we monitor your indicators then? We have two methodologies, the pathway to impact and PESTLE. P2I describes how your project is creating impact internally. So how your activities translate into tangible results. So something measurable, as well as something to expect over a longer time period. So then PESTLE is a method that describes the external factors to your project, the environment where your project takes place. And we expect to see both short-term as well as long-term impacts of your project. So short-term impacts would be something that can materialize during the project already. And some of the results will only realize after your project. Say, for example, you plant something, say, or restore sea bottom, and then you expect maybe biodiversity to increase on that area, but it will only happen slowly after your project end. So this would be one of the long-term impacts of your project then. But basically you should prove your project's impact with suitable means. So you should collect the data that proves the impact. This can mean many different things. So you can, for example, have background from scientific research that has proved that some effect will occur, or base your results or assumption on previous demonstrations, or so on. So we will not collect the proofs that your impact will happen, but you should prove it yourself in the application. And let's take the next slide. So this visualizes the pathway to impact method. So on the left-hand side, you can see inputs. So basically what you need in your project to do what you do or plan, such as funding received or working hours used. And you will plan activities, what you do, such as workshops held, for example, and these will lead into outputs. So these are products of your work. And these outputs measure if activities are delivered. For example, if there are any new patents or changes in technical readiness level of some technique you're developing, or publications made, for example. But these three first ones are something that you can do during your project. But after the project time ends, hopefully somebody will have grown awareness and will use your outputs. For example, if you have restored an area, maybe municipality starts to care for it, or environmental authorities will start to monitor it, or something like that. So basically, in the outcome phase, the result is out of your hands. You may influence how this outcome is received, but that is kind of the end of your project. But this is where our work starts then. So we want to monitor for the BANOS region what the outcomes are and how they turn into long-term impacts. And we hope that the project application contains indicators until the output. And from that on, we hope that you will describe how the story goes as a narrative. So the narrative describes the expected future events, how your work will contribute to the future aligned with Mission Ocean. Then comes PESTLE. So some examples of this are given here, but these are by no means the only ones. So political factors could, for example, be that the local policies support the topic of your project, or local policies focus some other topics. So this might hinder the receival of your or execution of your project. Economic factors could mean that there's funding available for the topic of your project, or not available, or your project is expected in the market or does not sell, or you're uncertain how it will sell. Social factors could be local community support or opposes your project, or that your project has positive or negative social impact. For example, if you protect an area, but the locals would like to swim in that area and have to move to the next beach, they might perceive the project negatively. Technological factors could be the technology you need in your project exists, is available, and is affordable. And of course, negative side could be that these are not in place. Legal aspect could be the legislation is missing, or it supports your activities, or sometimes it's not detailed enough. There's, for example, legislation on aquaculture, but not specifically on mussel aquaculture, and you're unsure how to make an application or so on. Environmental factors could be that your project, for example, locates in an environmentally sensitive area and permitting is difficult, or your project is a weighted improvement to the local environmental problem and seen very positively. So these kind of considerations of the external conditions and environment can help you also plan your project. So if you identify these pestle obstacle, for example, in your environment in the project application phase already, you can try to address these concerns during your project to turn the tide in your favor. So you can, for example, create awareness so that your project is received positively, or that people are awaiting or supporting your activities. You can create interest towards your project and products, cooperate with local communities, contact authorities beforehand for discussions, and so on. So analyzing these already in the application phase helps you to plan your actions in a way that paves way for the impact. And this is the same as an image where we combine the pestle lens to every phase of your project. So you can see the activities of your project through the pestle lens. You can think about the outputs through the pestle lens, and especially for the outputs, you can favorably affect the receivance of your outputs already in the planning phase by taking into account the obstacles that might come into play. So how do you then add these to your proposal? So identify the pestle factors for your activities and outputs. And likely not all factors affect all the activities and outputs, but list the ones you find relevant for your project and each action and output. And the purpose is not to increase administrative burden. So we have made a template that is fairly easy to use for your project. And doing this work supports us, the BlueActionBANOS partners, in seeing the bigger picture, so we can analyze what are the differences in enabling factors across the lighthouses, if there are any differences, which aspects needs more attention in the future, maybe more resources or research targeted to certain topics. What are the most important enabling factors, and what are the projects contributing to? And this is then what the example table looks like. So here we have defined some example project performance KPIs. So they are defined shortly for the activity phase. Then there's a baseline that you should define your target, where you're aiming during the project duration, or through a narrative after that, and then the reporting frequency. How often will you report or observe this KPI? So here we have, for example, suggested number of activities completed would be ratio of completed project activities to those planned in your full proposal. Timeliness of deliverables is important. So percentage of deliverables submitted on or before deadline. And then stakeholder engagement events, for example, number of workshops, consultations, and co-creation events with stakeholders. So this is probably common to everybody used to project work. Then outputs and immediate outcomes are exampled here. For example, count of new methods, technologies, number of policy recommendations, guidelines, or regulatory inputs, community engagement activities such as number of local actors actively involved in your project activities, and dissemination activities such as number and type of dissemination activities, and so on. And then we get to the really interesting part, the impact KPIs. So first, the short-term KPIs. These take place during the course of your project. And here we have made an example about marine restoration to enhance biodiversity, would be the name of the KPI. It is described as nature restoration, namely seabed, and it follows the Mission Ocean Objective 1 indicator, marine restoration to enhance biodiversity. Then you have given some numeric value. For example, there's an area where there's 1 hectare of restored seabed, but you target to raise it to 2 hectares, and you plan to plant 400 plants planted in the area. Source of your indicator would be the Wise Marine webpage. You would report it annually and milestones, and you see that this is going to the environmental pestle category. And then you have created a short narrative that describes what you're doing here in more detail. So here the seabed restoration pilot project in the city coastal area has proven successful, and you will now scale up the effort in cooperation with the local university. So this would be something that describes very clearly what you're doing in the project. Then there are some long-term KPIs that you have identified. So basically this follows the same logic. It supports the marine protected areas, and you describe it as protecting the restored area as an marine protected area, official designation when its qualities allow it to be included in the protection area network. So you have probably discussed with the authorities locally what this would mean in practice. You will report this at the project end, and you see it supports vessel category environmental. So basically, by doing the planting work and upscaling the previous activities, you are creating a new marine protected area. And then about the narratives, a few words. So the narratives help evaluators understand not only what the project will do in practice, but why these actions matter and how they create lasting benefits. So a narrative is a concise, forward-looking description on your project activities to impacts. And by forward-looking, we mean a description that not does only tell what is currently, but rather describes what you expect to be in the future. For example, there is no marine protected area in your city currently, but rather in the future there are 2 marine protected area in the future. So it's rather a description of a future. So we have provided in the appendix that will be made available through the website for writing a good narrative. A good narrative is specific and realistic. It is aligned with the mission objectives and includes both short-term and long-term perspectives, and use evidence to kind of create baseline and background for your actions whenever it's possible. And you can use, for example, baseline data, regional priorities, scientific studies to justify your impacts. And to support you in this, there's a specific deliverable that we've written, and it offers guidance for applicants for KPI and narrative formulation, and it will be made available soon in the website indeed. And that concludes it, and we can then go into the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, for this explanation. I will be looking at the Q&A section and the chat to see if any questions are coming in. So to reiterate, yes, the slides will be shared on the website after today's recording, as will the full recording. I do not at the moment see any other questions. So this topic has related to section 5 in the full proposal form, which is about impact. So if you go to the PDF versions of the full proposal, or you already have access to the online system for the full proposal form, under section 5 you will see the questions that match exactly to what Christina has talked about today. And I do have a question here in the chat. And the question is, so the PESTEL and pathway to impact should go under the KPI section of the application.
Yes.
And then we have another question about the indicator flexibility. If necessary to design own indicators, how do we assure full quality according to the objectives?
Well, as far as I see, the Mission Ocean indicator, the whole scheme is still developing, so it is by no means final, the graph that you can find in the Wise Marine page. but it has now adopted the KPIs that are used in current research and innovation action projects. So as long as you match your activities with the objectives, the most innermost section, or biodiversity actions, the pollution and blue economy, if it supports development of those, it's good enough for us, because this is a work in progress, and there are so many topics that these three objectives can contain, so that we cannot delineate it in more detail at this phase. So check if there's something that fits your project, but if not, try to create something that supports the defining the impact of your project. But indeed, please do check the additional material. There are more information about this, and if you are completely lost with this, please do send us a question, so we try to answer it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Christina. Yeah. So the process can be a bit difficult to start with if you're starting from nothing, but we do have received a clear explanation today, I think, and there is also the extra material that will be coming online on the website very soon, which will guide you through these questions of this section 5 in the full proposal. Some additional questions here. Should we include the pathway to impact in the TOC of our project? And I actually do not know what TOC would be. The table of contents is what I would think, but I'm not sure. Charlotta, maybe if you could clarify this in the chat. Thank you. Then another question for monitoring. I assume that this is not about biological measurements, but impact monitoring in the broader sense. So exactly,
Yes.
we are talking about impact monitoring. Is there anything you want to add to that, Christina, in relation to biological measurements?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, if you want to prove that you have say you want to plant 400 plants, then it would be nice to have, I don't know, photo or some other proof that you have done that. So that would be description for the short-term impact, for example. But then the long-term impacts, they might be a bit difficult. So there, a narrative might be more suitable. For example, if you want to increase biodiversity in some area, and this will only take place after your project, so over a long time. So of course you cannot measure that in place in any way. So it's not about measuring any like certain parameter, but rather, well, for the short term, yes, you can measure something concrete, but for the long term, rather provide evidence, provide the baseline where you start, where you're going to, and how the big picture will develop after your project. So that is what we expect, because we do realize that not all impacts take place during the course of your project, and they are fairly difficult to measure on the longer time period. And the pathway to impact, should you include it in the application? So this is basically the logic that we hope you can take or approach that you can take when planning your project activities and content.
I'll go to the next question that we have here. So if a proposal covers several or touches on several areas, and the pastel categories vary over these areas, do you then want separate sets of KPIs?
Yes, they might be meaningful to monitor all your activities. So say you're reducing plastic litter, so that would go under pollution, and you would see that this would increase biodiversity. So you could have separate indicators for both of those. So for example, one for the amount of collected litter and one for the whatever biodiversity you're increasing, so some suitable measure of that.
And you will pick the most meaningful for your application that you write down, the narratives, etc.
Yeah, you don't have to make a list of 10, 20 KPIs, but a few that you see relevant for your project.
Yes. So there is a minimum number of KPIs, right? But other than that, we would expect you to use the number of KPI that is sensible to
Yes.
the planned activities. Let's see if there is more. Is it possible to get feedback during the writing of the proposal phase from BANOS? I think this is not necessarily aimed at Christina. Maybe Frania or I can take this.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, I think we cannot interfere with your proposal writing, but we will support you or those projects that are then chosen for funding, so they will get all the support that we have. So if there's any need for adjustment or thinking how to measure something, so there will be technical support available.
Yes. So we do not get involved with the actual writing of the proposal, but once a project is selected, we are available for supporting the further development of the project.
Yes.
Then our project focuses on a specific pastoral aspect, namely navigating hurdles in the social aspect, as a way to contribute to the wider mission ocean of biodiversity. We already have a strategy to do impact monitoring on this aspect. And then the question, do I understand correctly, we should still equally monitor actual biodiversity impacts, even though these may be more minimal as we are focusing on social hurdles for long-term effects, instead of focusing on the short-term impact on biodiversity.
No, then you would probably build the content around the social aspects and how to choose KPI that supports the social activities, because they are now they don't describe social activities, these indicators, but then you would maybe select if you do social activities to support biodiversity increase somehow. So maybe you would then draft an own KPI that fits just under the objective.
Yes, so I think it's about a social action that ultimately contributes to the biodiversity objective.
Yeah, yeah.
Are process indicators interesting, i.e. the process towards reaching, for example, a biological change? That's the question. So is this a specific category, process indicators?
Maybe during the activities, but
really So we will follow the progress of your project and then the impact of your project. So if I remember correctly, the impact indicators or your funding is not dependent on the impact indicators, because we understand that they make realize over a long time period, but rather dependent on the progress, so that you progress the project activities as you have described in the project application, so that you stay in time and budget and provide the outcomes that you have promised. But the impact indicators are not part of the how to say, they're not related to your or estimation whether you can have further funding, or how do you say, for example, in midterm evaluation. So you are monitored for the progress so that you're in time and as you have described, but the impact is kind of external to that. So it is what we want to do in this project and we expect you to do as well, but yeah, it's like a slightly external.
The next question we have in the chat here is not about impact monitoring, and I'll maybe let Franny answer this. Someone is asking how many PIFs have been received in BlueActionBANOS so far with the deadline we had on the 16th of March.
Yes, obviously that is a question on many people's minds. We have received many PIF applications. We are not saying a specific number, but suffice to say that it will be a competitive call. And so definitely take all of these tips that Christina is offering on this impact section, because we anticipate a lot of full proposals coming this May.
Yes, thank you, Franny. Then an important part of our project will be financial modeling. So regarding estimation of the total cost of ownership of particular solutions to enhance biodiversity. Can this financial modeling be a part of the project, such as an economical approach? I'm not entirely sure if I have asked this question correctly.
Yeah, but if it supports somehow biodiversity aspect, for example, you would find some wider values of protecting something and you want to estimate what its economic value is, so that would be perfectly suitable, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Then a very practical question about drafting the full proposal. Is a table, as was shown in the webinar, an allowed way of combining the different KPIs and the narrative in the full proposal?
Or can you say the first two words? Is a what?
Table.
Table.
A table. So can the applicants provide their information in the form of a table in the full proposal?
Yes. So those are indeed meant to simplify the process so that you don't have to start inventing the wheel again and you can use the tables. So they are fairly straightforward and simple way to do this.
Right, another question here pertaining to the location of the action of the project. So if a project works on several distinct localities or in different countries, should we develop PESTEL and KPIs for those distinct localities?
I think it depends on what you are doing. For example, if you say you collect plastic litter in 2 locations and they contribute they contribute to the same sea basin, so you could have short-term impact estimated for each location, but then they contribute to the bigger picture together, for example. So they could have a long-term KPI for the sea basin.
Yes, and I suppose the PESTEL considerations could be different if the actions take place in different local contexts.
Yeah.
Next question. If impact indicators and objectives are not possible to achieve over the lifetime of the project, but only after project ends, we may describe KPIs that are milestones on the process towards reaching the objective.
Yes.
And such KPIs would often be qualitative. Is that
Yes.
of interest?
Yes, exactly. Because especially for the long-term impacts, you often cannot put a number to it. So that is why we have the narrative. So there is so much you can do during the project. But for example, if you identify that something will happen after the project, you could, for example, try to engage whoever takes over, for example, managing the area or activity after your project. So that could be one part of the narrative, that you have engaged this, say, new area manager during your project, and then the narrative says that they will take over managing and watching over the project outcomes. So yeah, you cannot put a exact number. Qualitative assessment is okay, and that is why we have the narrative part.
Then from the Q&A, thank you, Lotta. During the evaluation, do you weigh the pathways to impact and PESTEL equally? How realistic should be the long-term impacts?
Well, as realistic as you can be, but we don't know anything, like anything might happen. Even if you, for example, restore an area, there might be a storm that breaks a structure, or something happens. I don't know, a boat collides with your structure and it's broken or something. So we cannot be sure that the impact takes place. But be realistic and try to, during the project, already see what could threaten the outcome, and try to create an environment that impacts favorably in the outcomes of your project.
Then a comment here from one of the attendees. The help desk informed me that the application portal cannot accept a table, only plain text. So this may be relating to the online submission system that we are using. So there may indeed be, while we could say you can use a table format, but maybe it's technically not possible in the submission system. So that's something we'll have to check.
Yeah.
So we'll make a note on this and investigate this. Thank you. There's a question here: can appendixes or appendages be included in the full proposal? To which I would answer no. You can only use the text limits that are available in the questions at each question in the online submission system. Then another question relating to the impact. A log frame matrix will help show not only performance on indicators, but may also show the development and relate our impact to our theory of change. Are we expected to include a log frame matrix, or only tables per indicators? Personally, I'm not familiar with log frame matrices, but Christina, maybe you are.
Yeah. Well, this is mainly the kind of approach that we would want the projects to take. So think beforehand how the course of your activities turns into outputs and outcomes. So how you exactly write, or what kind of table you put in the text, is not so important, as long as the aspect is there. So
And the narrative.
Yeah, and the narrative. Yeah.
Then a question about the next webinar on matchmaking. Will you advise us on whether we should join another consortium, or should we take the initiative to reach out ourselves? So at the webinar, we will give you the opportunity to present yourself and to reach out to others. But we will not necessarily steer you towards this or that consortium. But we will create the environment where everyone can contact everyone, and where everyone can present their project or who they are as an organization and what sort of project they would like to join. I think there was another matchmaking webinar question here, so I'll look for this one first. For the next webinar on matchmaking. No, this is the same question. Okay, good. What else? Is it possible to get coaching, finding new partners, applying for a similar project? So again, this will be at the matchmaking webinar. So we will give everyone the opportunity to present themselves, and then it will be up to you to get in contact with people, right? But we will work with a digital whiteboard where you can see everyone's information, where you can pin your own contact details, add someone's information, and there will also be breakout rooms and other opportunities to connect.
Yeah, I could actually take the next slide. So there's some information on the upcoming events.
Right, yes, I think we're through most of the questions. We can have a look afterwards. And then, yes, I had 3 more slides, I believe, just with some upcoming events and other resources. So first is to follow us on the LinkedIn page, because that's where we post our announcements. Also consider joining the BlueActionBANOS community on the BlueBioMatch platform. This is a great way to interact, to reach out, to post something about yourself, maybe get in contact with people, and to potentially find missing partners or consortia that relate to your own activities. If you have questions, technical questions, don't hesitate to reach out to either your national contact point. You will find the contact details of all the national contact points on our website, or to the general help desk, which is BAB_helpdesk@fundingbox.com. Be aware of the full proposal deadline on the 29th of May. And then on the next slide, once more advertising for this matchmaking webinar, which will happen on the 15th of April. So if you are interested in pitching, in delivering a pitch at this webinar, or having your information advertised in some other way, please reach out to my personal email, jonas.leskroart@vlis.be. I will put it in the chat as well in a minute. And we will also reach out ourselves to consortia that have indicated in their PIF that they are still looking for certain partners, or to individual organizations that have already emailed us or posted on the BlueBioMatch platform that they are still looking for a consortium. So we will reach out to people, but you can also contact me on my email address that you're interested in pitching or otherwise advertising yourself at this matchmaking webinar. And then on the last slide, I want to reiterate this here as well. So we are linking a number of project databases on our website, which list a catalog of existing solutions, right? So you do not have to reinvent the wheel every time on each type of problem. There might be a very valuable solution out there already, and these solutions are recorded in these types of project databases, of which the Wavelinks platform is one good example. You can see a screenshot here on the right of the Wavelinks platform, and the screenshots on the left are from our BlueActionBANOS website, where we provide the link to Wavelinks and to other platforms that host all these solutions. So if you're looking for good examples or inspiration for your project, this is one place to start. And then there's, I see another question in the chat here. When do we get feedback on our ID proposal? So that's about feedback on the PIF. So this happens through the consultations that we set up. So we will set up a conversation, a half an hour conversation with each applicant. And this is now in full swing. So we are in the process of inviting people and scheduling appointments. And that's when you will receive feedback. There will be no written feedback to the project ID forms. Okay, I believe we have covered most of the questions, if not all, that are in the chat. So with that, I would once again like to thank Christina and Lotta as well for bringing their expertise in today to inform us on the many complexities of the KPI definitions and the impact assessments towards getting to a successful full proposal. And I'd like to thank all the participants, the attendees here today for being here, for asking questions, for being involved. And I wish you all the best of luck with the development of your full proposals. And I will likely see some of you at the upcoming consultations as well. And then the very last thing I'll do is put my email in the chat. And then with that, I'd like to thank everyone for a successful session and hopefully see you at the matchmaking webinar. Right, so this is the email in the chat where you can contact me if you're interested in pitching at the matchmaking webinar. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will stop the recording here.